Welcome back to the VC3 News Update. First in our local news stories, persons utilizing dialysis treatment services at the Modern Medical and Diagnostic Center in Georgetown will benefit from a further subsidized cost. Prime Minister Dr. The Honorable Ralph Gonsalves spoke to this as he addressed a blood drive held at the facility last week. Speaking on NBC Radio this morning, Prime Minister Gonsalves announced that the price will be reduced from the current rate of $250 to $150. This is being done as a result of consultations with patients and the relevant authorities due to the financial challenges brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic. Meanwhile, within its second year of operation, the Modern Medical and Diagnostic Center has added to the services offered a blood bank with mobile unit. The unit was launched with the theme Safe Blood Saves Lives at a blood donation drive. Voluntary donors from all blood types can now donate blood, which will be stored and readily available at the facility when needed. Certificates of recognition were awarded to persons including Gregory Farry, who was instrumental in establishing the mobile unit. And Police Commissioner in SVG Colin John has welcomed the training being provided by St. Vincent's and the Grenadines Coast Guard Service to enhance the capacity of its personnel. The commissioner was delivering remarks at a graduation ceremony hosted by the Coast Guard last Friday to mark the end of a regional security system basic seamanship course. He noted that the COVID-19 pandemic has not resulted in a reduction in criminal activity. A total of 14 persons received certificates during Friday's graduation ceremony, which was held at the Coast Guard base at Kaliokwa. The 5-week course began on July 6th and the participants received lectures in several subject areas, including nautical terminology, first aid, marlin spike seamanship, man overboard, rules of the road, among others. The participants also looked at the history of SVG Coast Guard, international law, survival at sea, and the International Ship and Port Security Code A. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Simone Keyser-Beach, speaking last Thursday on VC3's Roundtable Talk program, said that the role of the government in sourcing hotels for quarantine of persons visiting or returning to the state is to ensure that the hotels have the capacity to handle a case. Mrs. Keyser-Beach said that the persons are under quarantine because the assumption is that they have been exposed to COVID, and therefore the authorities must ensure that both guests and staff are safe by ensuring that hotel workers are trained.
In order to ensure that the guest is safe, that the staff is safe, and that the quarantine is maintained, we had to ensure that the facilities being used for quarantine sites, that the persons had some level of previous training in dealing with persons under quarantine, and they also had the setup which would allow for the control management of quarantine. So we set out certain requirements. You had to have individual rooms, individual bathrooms. You had to have some sort of underground security. You have to be able to be enclosed to allow for controlled access to the site. Additionally, we were working with the Tourism Authority and the Ministry of Tourism because they have established standards already, and that was extremely important. And we have also been working with the Hotel and Tourism Association and the Tourism Authority and the Ministry of Tourism in terms of heightening their training. We started training. We gave protocols very early on in terms of how hotels should deal with COVID and the risks of COVID. So we started that process quite a long time ago, and we've now increased it where we have signed up with the CAFA Hotel and Tourism, Health and Tourism program, and that has been even more intense training. So in that sense, the government, the Ministry of Health, the task force, along with the Ministry of Tourism and the Tourism Authority, partnered with the Hotel and Tourism Association to ensure that facilities that could safely implement hotel quarantine was selected.
CMO Keza Beach stated that approved hotels are satisfying the requirements and provided some specifics on what must be in place.
If you think about cleaning, they need to know how to clean a room after somebody has used it. You need to be aware of how you set up your reception area. Do you need to have a screen? Persons need to be aware of how you use a mask, the spacing, how you set out your dining room. You have to move from buffets to single service. All of those things have to be in place. Even what fluids you clean with, how do you clean from normally you clean from the dirty to the dirty to clean or clean to dirty, it depends on what's happening. All of those are things that we had to go through a process of retraining or introducing the staff to things that were specific to COVID.
Dr. Gerald Thompson stated that it appears that some persons are not concerned about the cost of the hotels, which he said can amount to an overall figure of about $1 million per month. He said that there are some persons, including students, who would not be able to pay and recommended some measures be put in place to assist.
Doing a little calculation, 150 passengers, because to discriminate and say who will pay, if government were to pay 150 passengers at the average rate, you talk about maybe $240,000, $250,000 per flight. In a given month, you know,
$1 million.
You talk about $1 million. Now, I believe that the process that's been put in place, if there are some persons, there can be some arrangements made. But I think there has been the sheer enormity of this and the cost of being able to say, well, who wants a free hotel, you know what I mean, could get it free. And it's a very sensitive area that I would imagine there may be some persons, whether a student or whether they can returning, and so may not be able to pay. And I think some measures and so have been put in place to actually deal with some of this, even though it requires maybe some paying back of funds and so forth or not. But I don't think that it could be an open process that anybody who wants free accommodation for a given specified period of time can do. You know what I mean?
And finally, North Leeward will see significant enhancement to sporting facilities in the coming months, according to Carlos James, the Unity Labour Party's caretaker for the constituency. James made this declaration while delivering remarks to the launching of the Jules Anthony Cricket Academy at the Cumberland playing field last Saturday. According to James, major upgrades to hardcourt facilities in Rosebank and Fitzhugh are expected in the upcoming weeks, which will complement the recently constructed Rose Hall multipurpose sporting facility. James told participants at the launching that there are further plans to complete a playing field in Trumaca, while rehabilitative work is embarked for the Petit Bodel playing field. According to James, these projects are part of an initiative to develop all major sporting facilities in North Leeward, which will complement the sporting talent in the area. He noted that these projects augur well for sport development in North Leeward, which has a long history of producing good sporting talent. The ceremony also heard remarks from the area representative, Roland Matthews, sports administrators Miles Bascom and Tion Gordon, West Indies cricketers Ian Allen and Kesrick Williams, Elron Lewis of the Jules Anthony Cricket Academy, and William Koja Anthony, journalist and brother of Jules Anthony. And that's all for the local news stories. Up next, regionally, the recount of ballot boxes in Trinidad and Tobago started yesterday in 3 constituencies.